Zach Cregger wins the award for the best description of a sex scene. Like, I love it. It's on page 56. I'm not even going to read it because it's, you just have to see it to believe it. Page 56, interior bedroom night. And there it is. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm sorry. But the truth is, like, why does it matter how they're doing it or what they're doing specifically? Like, okay, we're going to take a moment in this film for a quick glance that, yes, they did do that. And that's really all you need to know. So it works here. And some more of his voice that I appreciate. Page 10, it says, later, close up on the television, Shark Tank is on and some idiots are pitching bullshit. On 66, we get a look at this one-sided phone call, which, there's so many ways to not only put a phone call on the page, but also how you format it. And, here he's being very specific about you're only going to hear one side of this phone call. You're not going to hear muffled response. We're not going to do a cut back and forth or anything like that. So you have Anthony here, and it's like him talking, beat, him talking, beat, him talking, beat. I mean, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beats. But I'm pretty sure that's about exactly how it was delivered in the film. And then that classic scene at the end of the movie where the kids are chasing Glattis and they catch her. Whew. That's one. I'll say this about a movie and a screenplay, really. That last act, the end of the film, is what people will feel and think as they leave the theater. So if you had a tremendous movie all the way through and they were on the edge of their seat, and then the last 5-10 minutes, they're like, what? Huh? I don't get it. Or that was a letdown. I wasn't expecting that. That's going to be their general feeling about the entire piece of art, not just the last 5 or 10 minutes. In the same way, inverse, if the movie's sort of been dragging along and you haven't enjoyed it much, but you can be saved by the last 5 to 10 minutes of the film. This one didn't need saving. I'm not saying that, but such a memorable ending closure to this film. It's when the kids attack her, and it's described in graphic detail on page 116, 117. Some pull her hair, some gouge out her eyes, some pull her wrist, and some her ankles. Soon parts of her come loose. Her face is reduced to pulp. Someone bites off her ear. She's lifted off the ground by their collective pulls like a woman being drawn and quartered. Children leap onto the pack from the edges till it's just a bloody scrum with pieces of her coming loose in the frenzy. At some point, she stops screaming. So, a great description and excellent writing. I especially like that last line. At some point, she stopped screaming. So no need to go into great detail describing her dying and what it looks like. I mean, beyond the gruesome part. It's just, nope, she was screaming. Then she stopped. That's how you know she's dead. Or at least they ripped her throat out. She can't scream anymore. And the script clears up some things for me that I didn't quite catch or understand from the movie watching it. For example, on page 88, and this is on me because they probably used his name. In fact, I'm sure the teacher called his name, but I didn't put together that the bully, the kid who was bullying Alex, is Matthew, which is Archer's son. So it kind of makes sense, but I didn't put that together. It's obvious on page 88 when they describe what's going on. It even says that a larger boy, Matthew, Archer's son, rushes up from behind and body checks him into the wall. Alex whirls. There's quite a few differences in the script too, and I do believe that what ended up on the film was better. For example, on page 102, we get the story of how Alex brings home Valentine's Day cards. How the kids have to, write on the little cards and exchange, and everybody gets one. He brings those home just because he had them, and Glattis finds them, and she just takes them, cuts them up, and makes her a little potion so that the kids run to the house. In the film, it's made clear of what her motivation is. Why is she doing that? There's no, I didn't catch with 2 readings here. I didn't catch any character motivation of why Glattis wanted the kids. And the film has made very clear that the parents aren't cutting it for her. They're giving her some life and she's feeling better, but she's not ready to live another 50, 60 years. She's not going to do it on them because she's probably using their life force too much. So she needs Alex to go to school and bring a possession from each kid so that she can use them to give herself strength. And that's part of the mystery in the film, is how's he going to do it? And he goes to school and he has some ideas. He sees trinkets, but eventually he settles on just pulling everybody's name tag off of their cubby. In addition to that being more character driven, also it's probably a problem because remember, this is set in Pennsylvania and Valentine's Day is February. So if this story were to take place in February, there'd be snow everywhere. And it's shot in Atlanta, so not going to be snow. So maybe that had something to do with it, or at least that was maybe what started the conversation. I don't know. Another thing that's different in the screenplay, mom and dad end up fighting each other. So Alex gets a hold of the stick and he's afraid and he pops it and then they turn on each other. Where in the film, they end up going after him, which creates a lot more tension, a lot more fear. And of course, we get mom popping through the door, popping her head through the hole in the door, just like in The Shining. And so it's a pretty cool movie moment. But on page 102, you can read about how mom and dad actually turned on each other. And then also there's no kid narrator at the end of the screenplay. Like in the film, we go back to, I believe her name's Maddie. Yes, Maddie. And she sums it up. She talks about how, everyone in the town was traumatized and eventually at least one kid started talking again, but it took a long time, which leaves it up to interpretation. Was she that kid or how was she involved? I was hoping to find that in the screenplay. I was hoping that Maddie would be in there somewhere besides the narrator, but it's not. So it's just one of those things. Doesn't really matter. We always like to see how the screenwriter uses music in their screenplays. Some avoid it completely. Some describe the tone of the music. Some give lyrics of the music. He does what is most common, which is to just give the name of the song and the artist if he wants that sort of specificity, which he obviously does. On page 3, we get Beware of Darkness by George Harrison, and that was part of the trailer. It's spooky because it's contrast of the mood. And then on page 16, we get Percy Sledge's At the Dark End of the Street. It plays as Justine sits at the bar, nervously sipping a vodka soda. And now let's talk about this non-linear storytelling, which is truly the most unique part of the screenplay, where we talked about earlier, you have 6 different characters driving POV at different times. Barbarian had a unique structure in the fact that it had one person's POV until the going from 2A to 2B, the second act split, and then automatically, boom, we're in a new person driving down the road in a car who we've never seen before, we don't know anything about. And he carries the rest of the film, the screenplay. So he is no stranger, Zach Cregger, to interesting and unique story structures. This one's compared a lot to Pulp Fiction because it's such a famous film, Quentin Tarantino, obviously, where you have multiple POVs that give you a little bit more of the story, sort of like a puzzle, a mystery, so you can solve it. And that one, though, I believe there are mostly or only 3 POVs. I mean, 6 is a lot. I mean, he took a big bite here. Gone Girl has 2 POV perspectives, and they go back and forth in the same way as Pulp Fiction to solve this mystery. And, you have unreliable narrators like this one does. And the film this one's most compared to is Magnolia, the Tom Cruise film back in the day. And it has multiple characters. The difference, though, is that Magnolia is progressing forward. So you have one character is taking it to one spot, and another character jumps in, and they take it to this spot, and another character jumps in, and they take it to this spot. And you're learning about different things from each person's perspective. This one, it's one character takes it to this spot, and then we go back to the beginning, and another character takes it to that spot, and we go back to the beginning. So it never really progresses beyond this one part until you get to the end, and then it all goes forward with everybody. And this has nothing to do with anything, but since we're talking about interesting structures, there's always Memento, the Christopher Nolan screenplay, where it starts at Z and goes to A. The whole thing is backwards. Truly inventive and unique.